whatever your vision of utopia is going to be, not everyone's going to agree with you. And in order to carry out a scheme that is perfectly laid out on paper, how do you deal with the people who don't get with the program? If you sincerely believe that the people who disagree with you are the only thing standing between the current world and a world that will be infinitely good forever, then you're justified in doing anything possible there to eliminate the ultimate evil, namely your enemies.
Exactly. Well, that's why it seems to be such a hazard, right? Because
Yep.
utopia, if utopia is perfect and it can be attained, then any means are acceptable to bring it about. And that I can't think of a more profound moral hazard than that. I don't imagine it's anything that was planned. It just strikes me that the idea is so prevalent, that utopian thinking is so prevalent, that it might be necessary to develop a psychological mechanism to make its existence safe. I was thinking in some sense
that would be some sort of cultural adaptation, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. I don't know if Haidt disagrees with this, but
yeah.
The same thing about ideas of God.
The utopian thing does seem very baked into people's behavior. I don't think that's a cultural adaptation. I think that is just kind of a biological thing.
Do you know the experiment, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but the idea will be correct, where they take a bunch of chimpanzees and they put them in like a habitat, and there's like a chair, and the first chimpanzee to get on the chair, they like douse him with water. So it's like very uncomfortable for him. And after that, like no one will go near the chair, but they pull out one chimpanzee and put a new one in, and the new one won't go near the chair because everyone in the room tells them. But they can do this until all the chimpanzees are gone. Like nobody knows what happens when you get on the chair. But no one will go on the chair, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yes, I do not.
Okay.
And wasn't it also like I thought there was some element where if chimpanzees who didn't experience it tried to get on the chair, the other chimpanzees would like physically and violently try to prevent them from getting on the chair.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a situation like that that I feel has happened through most of my life with things like communism and socialism. Everyone's saying, no, don't go near the chair, you crazy fucking chimp. Get away from the chair. Right? But I feel like that's kind of worn off a bit. And what he's talking about with the utopian thing, I mean, this is exactly what he's talking about.
That's actually a great comparison because and we've talked about this. This is the problem with crying sheep, or crying wolf, I mean, is that there's that chair, there's the communist chair, and that chair is very dangerous, and you don't want to sit in that chair. Right. When you sit in that chair, tens of millions of people starve and die.
Right, okay? Yeah.
But the issue is that then a bunch of somewhat dishonest people and somewhat delusional people will then try to take that chair and put it under every other chair that people are sitting in already to try to get them not to sit in the chair.
That's CRT in a nutshell right there. They changed all the chairs out.
Right. So that's what they're doing, is that people so with CRT, like, this is a good example. CRT is like, you have a bunch of liberals about to sit down in the chair that says colorblind liberal society, and they're trying to say, no, that's the racist chair, look. And the CRT people, they put a little a kid drawn like paper sign over the chair that says racism, like crayon, and they taped it on the chair. And the liberals like, oh, I don't want to sit in the racist chair. Oh, I was so close. Thank you for warning me.
Are there any other chairs available here?
And then you have like the people like me and Adam, and we like look and we're like, wait a minute. And we like lift up this sign. We say, wait a minute. Somebody taped the racist inside the chair. The chair's not actually racist, guys. Listen, look, they tricked us. And they're already too late. They're gone.
They're like, sitting in the communist chair. They're across the room. Whoa, no, no.
The CRT people have brought out like the new chairs. They're like, these are the chairs. These are the really non-racist chairs. And it says, like, taped on with a little kid drawing, it says non-racist chair.
But you lift it up and it says communism.
It says commie underneath. They're like, no, what are you doing?
Oh my God. This is the best example. It simplifies it so much for all the CRT people.
I know.
It's like, it's just a chair.
Right. But that was exactly true and that's part of the problem with that, is because the right did the opposite, where they tried to take everything like, any social, any welfare program. And they're like, no, that's the communist chair. Look, and they taped the communist sign on it. And
they put on the liberal chair. The other people put racist. They put communist. They took
put
the racists off and
yes.
put communist on that chair.
They put communism all over the liberal chairs. And then the problem is then people get tired because like, wait a minute, you've been warning my parents for 20, 30, 40 years to not sit in that chair because it's a commie chair. And they finally look under the sticker and they see it's not the commie chair.
Right.
So they kind of just, unfortunately, they kind of push off in their mind. And whenever anyone says something's a commie chair, their brain just kind of tunes it out.
They're like, it'll be fine. It'll be okay. Yeah, so Jordan Peterson basically wants to build some adaptation like that. He wants to build the Utopia chair where people get sprayed.
Yes,
but you got to build that thing.
He's saying Christianity does that. It's the claim.
Oh,
Christianity has successfully done that. Yes, which I don't know if it has.
Yeah,
but
maybe
because, and I don't know what you guys think about this, but it seems to me that it's possible that if there isn't a place in society for something like an ultimate value, then that degenerates down to the political level and starts to contaminate it. So if there is such a thing as a religious instinct, let's say, if it doesn't find its proper place that in abstraction, then you elevate other elements of society to the same level, and then that becomes dangerous.
See, I think both Steven Pinker and Jonathan Haidt heard that as Grandpa talking about how God is the highest value, and that's what he's like.
But that's not
got
what he's
Jesus
saying,
smuggling here.
That's not what
I
he's
understand
saying,
that. I understand that, but I think that's what they heard.
He's saying there's a religious instinct, which I imagine they both agree with.
Haidt agrees with. I don't think Pinker.
You don't think
agrees
Pinker
with.
does?
I think
Okay.
Pinker strikes back against that in his response here. We'll find out in a second. But
and all he's saying is that if people are following this religious instinct, and there is this instinct for utopianism, that the religion or the moral philosophy that guides humans will have to somehow figure out a way to have the idea of utopia still be something to strive after, but without being dangerous.
yes,
So
I fully believe that people have a highest value that you can pragmatically call their religion. Like if someone is, has a YouTube channel ragging on religion night and day, they are doing that because they believe the world would be a better place without religion, and that is what's animating their behavior. A lot of religious people, they want to convert you to Christianity because they think Christianity is the best philosophy, and that animates their behavior. A lot of people
but you're kind of
political.
redefining the term religion, I think, in this example.
Yeah, I said practically.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, Vosh is socialism is his religion, is it not?
Right. Well, no, making money and increasing his status.
Capitalism. Are you
Capitalism and climbing the hierarchy is his religion. Okay,
Right.
let's be real.
right? Yeah. Okay. But in the same way that a pastor's religion is Christianity, but we all know who's we all know where the mega church bucks are going.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what you elevate. If what you're elevating is human well-being, people should be.
See, I told you. He's like, my religion is human well-being. Jordan Peterson, don't you understand?
Healthy and happy and long-lived and educated and safe. That doesn't seem like such a bad moral value to elevate, and it's certainly better than some arbitrary stipulation from some scripture or creed that you can't justify to people who don't believe it antecedently. I mean, the problem with utopia is, among the problems, and I'm not sure, by the way, I'm the least qualified person on earth to talk about Christian theology or eschatology, but it seems to me there's also the notion of the second coming. There's end times. There's heaven on earth. There are notions of utopia that are seem to me not necessarily postponed indefinitely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a lot of religious sects that believe the end of times is like we're living in the end of times. Like a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, here's my question for you, Adam, and for the other Christians in the audience, is that because it feels like I know that the evangelicals still talk about it, but it seems like a lot of mainstream Christianity, at least what kind of dissipates to me, doesn't focus on like the second coming so much or the end times. Now, is that true? Did your Christian upbringing focus on that a lot?
Depends upon the sect. And my
Mm-hmm.
my Christian upbringing did focus on it a lot.
It did.
A lot, yeah.
So
A
so to be
giant
clear,
amount, yeah.
not focus on like being a better person so that you go to heaven, but focusing on the fact that like Jesus is going to come back and all, you know, the end times are going to happen and
Yeah.
yada yada. That was focused on a lot.
Jesus comes back and he puts all these evil people around us
Mm-hmm.
on the hot poker, and we get to enjoy. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good seeing all these people on the hot poker. Just
Mhm.
think of all the people you hate that you want to see on the hot poker.
So you're saying that a lot of this was talked. So this would completely go against everything Jordan Peterson's saying.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
This is why I'm saying there's two aspects to religion. There is the, creating in groups and out groups, and the out group is going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the in group is like, we have to be nice to one another. I mean, that all religions are kind of parochial that way.
Yeah, I guess it's what you said. It depends on the sex, because there's a lot of people in the chat saying yes and a lot of people in the chat saying no. So yeah, I guess it's very. I'm just curious as to which sect is like more prominent in American society.
Yeah,
because it seems now again this could be a distortion, but from mainstream depictions of Christianity, it seems like the concept of like the second coming was a lot more prominent decades ago and is less prominent now.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's not the case.
No, come on.
Maybe it's not the case.
That's the whole idea behind Christianity is the second coming.
Right.
Like that's a chief animating philosophy of Christianity is the second coming.
Yeah. There you go. All those reverse cowgirl sects.
What?
Sects.
What does that mean?
Yeah, because it reverses.
You don't have first of all, Jews don't believe that Jesus was the first coming. You're still waiting for the first
I don't
coming,
really
right?
follow Judaism, so when you say we or you.
Well, I was under the impression Jewish people believe
Jewish people do not
the whole
believe
idea
that,
behind the Messiah coming is the Jewish idea.
Yes, it is. And Jews do not. Yeah, Jews believe. Well, it's weird because like there was kind of this idea that the Messiah would come back and make the world better. But I think kind of what happened, because at least in my upbringing with Judaism, that is like never talked about ever. It's never talked about. And I think, and I'd be curious to other Jews, maybe Jews that went to more like conservative sects, if they talked about this or not. I think that like that becoming Christianity kind of like stole the concept from Jews, and they don't want to talk about it anymore because they're like, oh, that's a Christian thing now.
They're asking me in the chat if I'm Catholic or Protestant. I'm Protestant. Southern Baptist, I believe, is Protestant. So, but I was raised Southern Baptist. Yeah, hellfire and brimstone. Just oh God, that stuff. That's my.
Sitch is lying about what? I'm talking about I don't know what. I
lying
don't talk about my
upbringing.
experience. As my experience is what like they didn't talk about this being Jews. I don't know what other Jews.
Come on, man. This is his lived experience. You can't be lying
It's
about
just
your
my
lived experience. You can't be lying.
But no, I am
about
curious
your lived
if other Jewish sects talked about this, the Messiah, because you're right, that was a Jewish concept originally.
Well, I'm not sure about Catholics, but I don't think Catholics focus on the second coming as much. So, but I don't know. I was raised Protestant.
There you go.
The problem with Utopia, of course, is that
Tinker here does nail it because there is lots of utopian thinking in Christianity. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to think that there's not. The whole idea behind heaven is utopia. They always talk about living apart from God is what hell really is, like being out of the utopia.
It ignores the inherent trade-offs in the human condition, such as that if you can't have complete freedom and complete well-being because people will choose to do things that screw up their lives. So unless you have a totalitarian nanny state, you give people freedom, they're going to do things that will lead to some bad outcomes. We're not all identical, and therefore anything that carries out the vision of some of us is going to to be inimical to others. And so that's why a liberal democracy is basically a means for resolving disagreements, not a vision of what life ought to be. There's an inherent trade-off between equality of outcome and equality.
Yeah, so that's a good point. That's
Huge
James
point.
Lindsay always says that.
Yep.
Liberalism isn't meant to give you your life meaning. It's just it's a system to allow you to choose and find meaning for yourself.
Yeah, it's a system to resolve conflict, which is something that we all deal with. Conflict is a regular part of life. If you don't have a good system to deal with it, life falls apart.
That's what's interesting, because you have all these people that want to replace liberalism with some moral system. And so they complain that liberalism doesn't have necessarily a moral component. It does, obviously, because the moral component is that the individual is the most important metric. But that, as you said, it's mostly a conflict, or at least the way it functions, is a conflict resolution. I guess moral isn't the meaning. It has morality, but doesn't have necessarily meaning baked into it.
Yeah.
And so they want to replace it with all these systems that have moral meaning baked into them. And then they complain that liberalism doesn't have that. And you're like, well, it's not supposed to. It's a conflict resolution mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a way we can get along without nuking each other, basically.
What do you mean by meaning? Because moral meaning doesn't really work for me. Like, I conceptualize moral in this very technical way that I mean, you do to a certain extent as well, but meaning, I think, is the real thing that people are missing. Like, they want something that gives them a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Right. Yeah, but see okay, so there's a reason, like, when people, so like if you said, like, hey, Sitch, did you like The Matrix? And I say, what do I say? Do I say, no, I didn't like The Matrix? Or do I say, no, The Matrix sucks? Okay, I say The Matrix sucks.
Yeah.
So when people have a tendency to ascribe their preferences as having a value judgment already in them. So I'm already because I'm not, like, there's ego there, because I'm not saying
that is good.
By me saying The Matrix sucks, I'm saying that The Matrix is objectively bad.
Yeah.
On some level.
You're creating a moral component to it. You're saying, not only do I think The Matrix is bad, you are obligated to think it's bad.
Right. I'm saying, not only do I think The Matrix is bad, The Matrix is bad. And if you don't also think it's bad, then
you're
you
a
have
bad
a problem.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something wrong with you. Okay. So we do this so often, and we always ascribe these moral components to basically everything we do.
Yeah.
And so obviously, I would say that when something is important is providing meaning to people's life. This is like because this could be one of the animating factors for their life. Now, something that important, they're going to ascribe a moral function to it. They're going to say, if you or your society is pushing you towards whatever I think is the meaning of life, then it's a moral society. If it's pushing you away from what I think is the meaning of life, it's an immoral society.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things like communism or fascism, they have the moral component of meaning baked into it. They already have a meaning, with communism, it's we all have to work. The meaning of life is to create a perfectly equal society.
Yeah. Utopia is the meaning.
Right. Right. And with fascism, it's the meaning of life is to create utopia via, going back to our roots or killing the Jews or whatever.
To live and die for my fellow, my fellow nationalists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so they complain because liberalism doesn't have necessarily the meaning, a motivating meaning, like end game of there's no end game to liberalism, right?
No.
It just is a system.
Yeah.
And so it's funny because often when people argue against liberalism, they try to use it as like a fault, when what Jordan Peterson's been talking about this whole time, you say, no, that's a good thing. You don't want your societal system to have necessarily a utopian goal in it, because that always leads down bad paths.
Yeah, you're not going to get everyone on the same page with the same utopia either.
Exactly, exactly. Because everyone has different visions of utopia and different ways to get there. And so that's why liberalism just functions as the conflict resolution method or system.
Wolfsbane for $4.99 says, hey, Adam, what's the difference between Southern Baptists and Black Southern Baptists? I grew up BSB and didn't get much of the fire and brimstone. It could be the church that you went to. I mean, different churches obviously have different valences. It could be me. Like, I was just totally obsessed with Revelations and like the end of the world and stuff like that. So, It might be, and also different areas of the country. So, I mean, it could not be a pervasive thing, but I remember that we had some special guest speakers that spoke at my church that were very much about like end of days, and just the church filled up, just packed full of people. They were doing like 3-4 shows a day. It was so good.
Right.
So that really got a lot of people interested, and I think that sent people down that path. But I mean, I must have been 10 years old at the time. I think it was like in 4th or 5th grade. So very different environment, no social media, no like internet, no.
Yeah, of course.
None of that kind of stuff.
Quality opportunity or rights. And since we're not all clones, that means that if you just allow people to achieve the most they can, some people will achieve more than others. And there is that trade-off if you don't want to have extremes of inequality. Added to the inevitability that whatever your vision of utopia is going to be, not everyone's going to agree with you. And in order to carry out a scheme that is perfectly laid out on paper, how do you deal with the people who don't get with the program? If you sincerely believe that the people who disagree with you are the only thing standing between the current world and a world that will be infinitely good forever, then you're justified in doing anything possible there to eliminate the ultimate evil, namely your enemies.
Exactly. Well, that's why it seems to be such a hazard, right? Because
Yep.
utopia, if utopia is perfect and it can be attained, then any means are acceptable to bring it about. And that I can't think of a more profound moral hazard than that.
Yeah, we're all kind of channeling Isaiah Berlin here, but they're good arguments.
Hi, you just listened to a clip from the Sitch and Adams show. If you like what you heard, you can listen to our live show right here on this channel on Sunday, starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you want, you can super chat us. We read $20 and up super chats on the show, and then do a follow-up stream on the following Tuesday where we read the rest of the unread super chats and interact with fans of the show. Subscribe to this channel right here to listen to the live show or to listen to more of our awesome clips.